When it comes to producing great quality cinematic video, one of the things people tend to forget or choose not to do is color correction, and it is a very important step in the editing process. In today's video, I'm going to show you the basics of color correction in Adobe Premiere Pro. Hey guys, what's up? It's Scott Clark with Scooter Media, and today I'm going to show you guys how to color correct in Premiere Pro using the Lumetri color panel. Stick around until the end of the video as I'll be providing a tip on how to make color correcting easier when you're out shooting your videos. On this channel, we provide filmmaking tutorials and tips and tricks, as well as doing some product reviews. So if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Let's get into it. For this example, I've brought in two different clips. The first one is a clip where the white balance is off a bit and the overall color is off. And the second clip has been shot in a log profile, so therefore it is a very flat image with almost no color or contrast to it. Now, before we begin, we want to make sure we're working in the color workspace. If you don't see it, just go up to Window, Workspaces, and find Color. Now that we're in the color workspace, we can see that our Lumetri color panel is open on the right-hand side, and what we also want to open is the Lumetri scopes in our source monitor. If you don't see either one of these, just go to Window and scroll down to Lumetri Color and Lumetri Scopes and click them. The Lumetri scopes include waveform monitor, vector scope, and histogram that allow you to monitor color and exposure levels, so any changes we make to our clips in the Lumetri color panel over here will be visibly represented in the scopes over here. These are here to accurately see what's happening with our colors because we can't rely on the computer monitors we are using to accurately show the colors. One monitor could have a completely different look to it than another monitor. As you can see here, I have the RGB parade, which will monitor the level of red, green, and blue in a clip. The vector scope maps a video's color information onto a circular chart with pure white being in the center. And the Luma waveform, which is a great way to visualize the dynamic range of your image, allowing you to protect exposure of both your highlights and shadows, with pure white being at the top and black being at the bottom. Now, while this may sound confusing, don't get too hung up on it as they really are there just as a visual aid. So now let's make our way over to the Lumetri color panel, and as you can see, there are 6 different settings: basic correction, creative, curves, color wheels, HSL secondary, and vignette. This has basically everything you need to color correct and color grade your footage. Now, the terms color correct and color grade are often used as the same thing, but they are two completely different things. When color correcting, we are doing just that, correcting or fixing the color and exposure to make everything look as good as we can if something wasn't correct in camera when we shot it. While color grading is basically choosing the look you want for your video and applying different LUTs or color after it's already been corrected. In our Lumetri color panel, we can see that we have basic correction, which is what we will use to color correct our clips, and this is what we will focus on today. The rest of the settings from creative down to vignette are there to help color grade your clips. If this is something you would like to see in a future video, just let me know in the comments below and I can dive further into how to color grade your videos. So let's open basic correction, and the first thing we see is input LUT, and what this is a way to apply a LUT or lookup table, which is a preset adjustment that we can apply to our clip. The only time I really use these are if I've shot something in log, which is a very flat profile, and I want to bring it back to the way it should look quickly. So there are a few in here that are included with Premiere, and I shoot with Canon camera, so I've added a bunch of Canon log conversion LUTs. So as an example, I will bring this LUT onto the clip that was shot in log, and immediately you can see that the exposure and color has changed, and it looks more like a normal video clip. Now, even though our clip does look better, we can definitely tweak it a bit more using the sliders to fine-tune it. The white balance section is there to adjust the white balance of our clip if for some reason we didn't get the white balance correct in camera. If there is a white section in the video clip that you know is actually white, you can use the white balance selector to click on it, and Premiere will adjust the temperature and tint automatically. You can still adjust it after that to your liking as well. If there's no white in your video, you can manually adjust the temperature and tint sliders until you're happy with the white balance. The next section in our Lumetri color panel is the tone section, and this is used to fine-tune exposure and contrast, highlights and shadows, and whites and blacks, as well as adding or subtracting some saturation. Exposure will increase or decrease the amount of light in the clip if the original was under or overexposed. Contrast will add or subtract the amount of contrast in the colors. Highlights will adjust the highlights, which is the bright portions of your clip. Shadows will adjust the shadows or dark areas of your clip. Whites will adjust the white portions of your clip, and blacks will adjust the black portions of your clip. One thing to remember when adjusting highlights and shadows and blacks and whites is that we don't want any of our whites or highlights to go above 100 over on our waveform, and we don't want any of the shadows or blacks to go below 0. The last slider at the bottom of the tone section is for saturation and is used to add or subtract saturation to the color. You'll also notice that there's a reset button and an auto button just above the saturation slider. The reset button will reset all of the sliders back to 0 in the tone section except saturation, while the auto button will attempt to autocorrect the tones in the clip, though I've personally never used it. There is also a reset all button at the top right of our panel that will reset all of the sliders. If you wish to reset just one slider, double-click anywhere on the slider line and it will reset just that slider. Now let's take everything we learned so far and quickly color correct the other clip. We can see that there's a piece of white paper in the shot, and I know it was white, so I use my white balance selector to click on that to get our white balance back in check. Now using the sliders, we can adjust the exposure, we can adjust the contrast, we can tweak the highlights and shadows, and the whites and blacks, and we'll add in just a little bit of saturation. I think that looks pretty good right there. If we go over to the check mark at the top right-hand corner of our basic correction panel and click it, we can see before the color correction and after the adjustments that we've made. I'm going to sum up the video in a second, but first let's ask today's question for comments, and today's question is, do you color correct your videos? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear whether or not you color correct your videos. When it comes to color correction, it is pretty subjective, meaning that there's no right or wrong answer to it. However, the white balance is something that should be consistent in your videos, as everyone pretty much sees pure white the same, and if it is off, it can be really noticeable. Which brings me to today's tip, and that is to hold up a piece of paper on your first shot once you're happy with the lighting and everything. On most cinema cameras, there is a button that you can hit while pointing the camera at something white, and it will automatically set the correct white balance. Most DSLR and mirrorless cameras don't have this option, and they make it difficult to get an exact white balance. So by holding up a piece of paper, I know I will have something that is pure white to use in post, so my white balance selector has something to click on. If I move to another area to shoot something else and the lighting changes, I will hold up the piece of paper again and do this process again. I hope this video will help you feel a little more comfortable with color correction, and if you guys found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please think about subscribing. Thanks for watching today's video, I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.